Hey, I'm Shamar.
And I'm Andrew.
We're going to be doing a deep dive on all the connected DC animated movies and their cinematic universe.
Yes, I'm here to discuss the interconnected storylines and point out how jacked everybody is.
And I'm here to share deep comic book knowledge like Batman having his own sneaker line.
So check out yet another DC animated podcast.
Part of the Forgotten Entertainment family and coming soon wherever you listen to your podcast.
Hey there, I'm Mr. Black.
And I'm Mr. Green. And we're a couple of guys who met in a comic book store.
Together we host the Pint O' Comics podcast, where we invite listeners to join us to talk about movies, TV, comics, music, or just whatever.
Starting very soon, we'll be joining up with the fine folks at Forgotten Entertainment for a special limited series called On the QT, where we talk Tarantino.
Every week for 10 weeks, a guest will join us to chat about every Quentin Tarantino movie, from Reservoir Dogs to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So join us starting in May 2021.
On the QT is available wherever you download your podcasts and is part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
That's a raccoon, yo. What are you doing?
Feeding the raccoon.
It's a trash panda. When the three burglars thing happens.
Oh, and they're all singing the same line.
Yes. No, notice, Jeb, that when they put their hats on, I'm not going to be able to see facial expressions. So that's on you, man. That's on you. Okay, camera rolling.
Yeah, I get it. Can I get an interview about Betsy's wedding? No, anything but that.
Get lost.
Anything but that.
Get my hat.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or maybe don't love about it, but we always recommend you revisit it. You never know, you might find your own forgotten gem. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Sweet. Season 11 coming to an end. Well, we're on the home stretch, as they say.
Was this the penultimate episode?
No, this is episode 11, I believe. Ooh. Yes, no, this is not the penultimate, as they say. That is next week. This week, we are doing a dark comedy from 1986. We're going way back, almost 30, a little over 30 years. 35 years.
35 years.
Oof, don't you feel old?
Yep.
So we're doing Ruthless People. Sam Stone hates his wife, Barbara. Sam Stone hates his wife, Barbara, so much that he wants her dead. He's ecstatic when she's taken by a duo of kidnappers who want $500,000 in ransom in exchange for her life, fully intending to ignore every one of the kidnappers' demands in the hopes that they do him a favor and murder her for him. The two confused kidnappers, played by Judge Reinhold and Helen Slater, have to figure out how they're going to get their money and what they're going to do with the overbearing Barbara. Yeah, that was all right. Woo! So like I said, it's called Ruthless People. It has a runtime of 93 minutes. It's rated R. Production budget of $13 million. It came out on a Friday, June 27th, 1986. So a week before July 4th, big summer release. Opening weekend, it did $5.2 million. And care to guess what it did total, Butler?
It did,
you already know?
70-something million.
Oh, you already know?
Yeah.
I thought you didn't know. 71.6 million. So it's a massive, massive hit when you compare it to the budget. Production company was Touchstone Pictures and Silver Screen Partners 2 and distributor of Buena Vista Distribution. I believe Touchstone Pictures came into existence like within this past year.
I believe the year before that, they did it first.
Because of Disney wanted to release more adult-oriented content, and that's why you got Touchstone Pictures.
Question for you. Do you know how long this lasted in theaters? Because if it only made $5 million, it must have lasted a while to get up to 71.
Well, let me have that answer for you, Butler.
Oh, all right.
So it came out on the 27th. It actually came out in 4th. Then the following 2 weeks, it was second place. So it took second on the July 4th weekend. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 weeks up until, I mean, I guess you can count 557 theaters. You know what? I'm not going to, I'm like, can you count that? Yes, you can, because it made over $400,000 that set last weekend. So all the way to the weekend of October 17th.
Wow.
So yeah,
That was a long run.
this is when movies lasted.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what did it come up against on its opening weekend on the 27th? The Billy Crystal, Gregory Hines action comedy, Running Scared, Labyrinth, with David Bowie, right? David Bowie's in
Yes.
that? Yeah. And American Anthem, which I never saw.
Me neither.
The week after, which is July 4th. So check out this slate of July 4th films. Psycho 3, The Great Mouse Detective. So there's the kids movie. Big Trouble in Little China, which I did not know was a July 4th release.
Well, I figured they wouldn't have even had hopes for it at all.
I just didn't. I would expect that would have been like either in
August?
the fall or in the winter or spring. Yeah, Under the Cherry Moon, and then About Last Night. So you had 5 movies that opened wide on the 4th of July weekend.
What's Under the Cherry Moon?
Under the Cherry Moon
It's the only one I don't know.
is with let me look it up because I don't know exactly. Under the Cherry Moon is the Prince film. It's about con artists who they kidnap an heiress or something like that, and then like things get out of control or something. Or someone falls in love with them. I think Prince is the one that falls in love with him. He actually directed that.
Oh.
So yeah,
Right.
that was the Prince film. And Kristen Scott Thomas is in it too. But yeah, but I don't think that did. I don't even think that did well at all. Let's see that box office. Yeah, it came out 11th that first weekend. So yeah, no, it was not a good time for Under the Cherry Moon. But that was a Prince film. You also had the week before this, so the 20th of June, you had The Karate Kid 2. I mean, I like that movie.
Mm.
And you had Legal Eagles, and that is with Robert Redford, I believe. Yes.
Karate Kid Part 2.
It says Karate Kid 2, Butler. All right. It says Karate Kid 2. So this is the first film that, for us, that is directed by three people.
I saw that.
I mean, so it's directed by Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker. Now these are the guys that are responsible for like Airplane, like all that. So I don't believe they directed Airplane, and I think that was Pat Proft. I'm not sure, but they also did Top Secret. Jim. So I got their individual credits in terms of what they directed. Abrahams directed Big Business, which is which is actually in 2 years from after this one in '88, and that also stars Bette Midler. And he also did Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. David Zucker did Naked Gun 1 and 2.5. He did Basketball, and he did Scary Movie 3 and 4. And then Jerry Zucker did Ghost, First Night, and Rat Race. I will say that in this movie, my note for this film is that Jerry Zucker would be on the set talking to the actors.
I saw that, yeah.
And David Zucker and Jim Abraham would watch from monitors and give comments.
So are they like too shy? They're just like, you go ahead.
Maybe they just wanted one voice in terms of with the actors, but
I mean, that makes sense.
you know,
It's also really weird that you're listing like Airplane, Top Secret, Police Squad. He also directed Ghost.
like, yeah, the biggest note for me was Jerry Zucker that he directed Ghost. I was like, really? All right. Yeah, that kind of surprised me. That's kind of like when Wes Craven did, was it Violins or the Red Violin or 99 Violins or something like that. He did the one with Madonna when she was like the music teacher in the city. Like it was like a complete departure. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, like John Carpenter with Starman, we said was a departure, but that's still kind of in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This is just like, poof,
Yeah.
completely different.
Written by, what's up?
Which is cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Written by Dale Launer, who's written Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I haven't seen that in a while. I kind of want to go back to that. My Cousin Vinny and Love Potion #9. Cinematography by Jan de Bont. You may know him obviously from such films that he directed like Speed 2 Cruise Control and Twister. But I just edited an episode where he was the cinematographer. Nice. He is the cinematographer for the movies Hunt for October, Flatliners, and I did not know he did Cujo. So I thought that was interesting. Composed by Michel Colombier, who passed away in 2004. He did Against All Odds, a movie we did, New Jack City. How Stella Got Her Groove Back and Swept Away. Edited by Jim Jaffe, who did They Live, Rambo First Blood Part 2. Well, I mistyped that. I said Rambo Feast Blood Part 2. That's interesting. I don't know. Maybe I want to see that one. He was also edited by Arthur Schmidt, who has won 2 Oscars, one for Forrest Gump and the other for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. both for editing, and then produced by Michael Pazer, who's produced, amongst other things, Hackers. I love Hackers. Speed 2, Cruise Control, Matilda. I love Hackers because I really love the line when they all freak out over the 56K modem. Oh, you got the new 28.8 56K. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And they're all like, oh my God, look, it's so fast. All right,
You download this JPEG in under 5 minutes.
You got Danny DeVito as Sam Stone. Obviously, he's from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Most of our audience probably knows him from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which started December 1st for those who didn't know. And then he's also in Tin Men. Bette Midler as Barbara Stone, his wife. She's in Hocus Pocus. She's also in Beaches. She's been nominated for 2 Oscars for The Boys and The Rose. Judge Reinhold as Ken Kessler. He's one of the the kidnappers, as I said. He's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Beverly Hills Cop, and Santa Claus, or The Santa Claus. Helen Slater as Sandy Kessler. She's in Supergirl. She had quite a year in 86 because she's also in The Secret of My Success, which is an episode we did.
Yep.
And she's in City Slickers. Anita Morris plays Carol. She is in 18 again in Radioland Murders. My note for her is that she is the mother of James Badge Dale.
Yeah, I didn't know that till I was looking her up last night.
And unfortunately, she passed away in 1994 from ovarian cancer,
After he was 2 when he was just 2
which
years
is
old.
awful, which is horrible. But anyways, Bill Pullman as Earl. He is in ID4, obviously. The Last Seduction, which is an episode we did. And I guess I was looking for something more recent from Bill Pullman. He is on the TV show The Sinner, wherever that may be.
It's okay.
You seen it?
It's on Netflix.
You watched it?
I've watched 1 episode.
Then how do you know it's okay?
Because he's okay.
We had William G. Schilling as the police commissioner. He doesn't get a name. He's in the Line of Fire, and he's also in The Best of Times, an episode we saw. I believe he was one of the Moose Lodge guys in The Best of Times.
Okay.
And then you had the 2 cops. The only reason I'm going to give you the 2 cops because one of them was in Die Hard 2, and then when he came on the screen, he was like, Die Hard 2! And that's Art Evans as Lieutenant Bender. He's also in the 1985 Fright Night and Trespass. And then Clarence Felder, who plays Lieutenant Walters. He's in The Last Boy Scout and After Hours. And then you had a couple people in here that you might have recognized, and I'm not going to go. You had J.E. Freeman as the bedroom killer. You might know. I know him from Alien Resurrection as the guy who runs the ship. Yep. And then Gary Riley as the heavy metal kid who's looking to buy the speakers, and he's the kid in summer school. I always remember that. And then Phil Hartman's got a credit in here, but you didn't. I didn't go back to listen.
He's the newscaster when they're talking about the second time when they talk about Miller's kidnapping. Because I was like, that is absolutely Phil Hartman's voice.
Yeah, it's uncredited, so this is like after the fact, I guess.
Clarence Felder is also in The Mask.
He's in The Mask.
Yeah,
I didn't. Okay, I know he looked familiar.
So I was like, that's because it's the main detective's partner who actually kind of thinks The Mask is funny.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I never saw this movie complete. I've seen most of this movie.
Oh,
no,
really?
No, I've seen this movie, but I've seen like maybe the ending a bunch of times. I've seen when Bette Midler was downstairs, like in the basement, like when she was kidnapped. I saw that stuff a lot. I never really saw the opening too much, so I don't remember a lot of the open. I didn't remember the stuff with the video when he's videotaping the people having sex.
Oh,
I didn't remember that. I didn't remember that they kept going back to the tape. So like stuff like that. Like there's a lot of stuff I didn't remember, but I did remember like the stuff I was like, oh, okay, I know that. Because I always knew the ending. I always knew the ending of them on the beach or she kicks them off the pier, like all that stuff. I knew all about that stuff. I just never kind of watched it in one sitting.
Okay.
So yeah. So my biggest note from this movie is that if you didn't know it was from the 80s,
it's so 80s.
the title sequence alone will tell you that it's from the 80s.
That's my first note. I think we both put that in our story independently. Put that in our stories when we watched it. Is how 80s it is. Like I love the title sequence is amazing. I love Danny DeVito's character Sam Stone's house. Oh, the house. It's so 80s. I guess it's called Memphis style.
Well, no. That's the decor of the mansion or the house was from the Memphis group or Memphis Milano, which is an Italian design and architecture group that was funded by Italo Sotas. So I come with the facts, Butler. So yeah, the Memphis group or Memphis Milano was only around from 1980 to 87.
And yet, like that's what everybody knows about the 80s.
Yeah, well, but it's like when we talk about movies that are TV shows and movies that are now, and they kind of mine that nostalgia for you,
right?
And so like Stranger Things probably is the biggest example, and they shove everything from the 80s into one location, and you're just like, that never happens. Like no one had everything. This house almost had everything.
Oh yeah, this house was absolutely ridiculous.
And they're putting in like each time you see him, they're putting him in a different weird chair.
I love the red outdoor chair made of the blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
And knowing that knowing that the guys that are directing this are responsible for like Airplane and like all those type of movies.
Stuff,
yeah. Like I already know, like, that's deliberate. Like her fashion, like the, what's her face? Sandy's like, how she's like a fashionista. She develops her own clothes. Her clothes are hideous, but that that's on purpose.
Oh yeah. To make fun of 80s style. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, like the whole thing, like what was pure, I guess Airplane-esque, if you will, was when Earl and Carol are in bed together and he's got the Black & Decker and he pulls it up and she's like, ooh, and he pulls it up. I'm just like, I mean, like that's out of like what is the thing they get in, when he's in the top secret prison and he gets that huge like sex device thing.
Oh, I haven't seen Top Secret in a long time.
Oh my God. But like, it's like that. It's like straight out of that. And I was like, okay, that's like, that's funny because you take these guys that do a certain style of comedy and you try to have them do something that's a little bit toes the line, but not really. It's really just
they still kind of add their stuff in there.
Yeah. It's because I already have the list of the fake credits that they had at the end of the movie, which we can get into later. Because I already knew that was coming. I'm like, okay, here are the credits. I got to watch these. So I'm pausing the credits and writing them down. But yeah, absolutely.
Because like the things that reminded me of Airplane, which even before I looked up that they were directors, were like the when Reinhold's character Ken, when he's trying to get out the window because he thinks the cops have caught him, and they walk by and they're just talking. They don't notice he's dangling out the window. Or at the end when Bette Midler is about to kick Devito into the water at the beach.
Yeah,
and they're just walking away going, it's good to have a strong relationship. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and they're just beating each other up in the background.
Or when they go to the house and he's sitting outside, Samsung sitting outside, behind him, you see the police officers playing tennis in there. Yeah, it's all stuff like that. Or when the cop bends down and he licks up the wet spot and she says, a dog pees everywhere. She's like, no, it's sweeter. She's diabetic. Because there are some things that in this movie, it's like we always do this with comedies. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. But I'm curious if in terms of the performances, like I think I like Danny DeVito a lot in this film. He's completely vile.
Oh, absolutely.
And none of these people are good people. Even like Bette Midler's character, Sharon, right? Barbara, excuse me. Even Barbara is not really great because she only really kind of softens to the kidnappers because she lost 20 pounds.
She lost 20 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So like even that, like even like when she finds out that, he'll pay, like they're all friends now. And she's like, he'll pay. How much is it? And she keeps telling like, no, we offered 50 and they didn't want you. And then she's like, I'm being marked down. I've been kidnapped by Kmart. Yeah. Like stuff like that. Was there something that maybe in terms of performances that you weren't a big fan of?
I think this movie's fantastic. I think performance-wise, everybody's pretty much on point. Mm-hmm. My only issue with the movie, I think, is the bedroom killer. I think he I know they hint at him throughout the movie, but I think he's just there as a plot device, as a Deus Ex Machina.
He's there so that they can get away from it.
Yeah, I think they could have maybe found something a little bit more clever.
But do they need to? This is not that type of movie.
No, I mean, it's fine. Yeah. Like, again, I really like this movie.
I don't know if I'm a huge Judge Reinhold guy in this movie. Like, I don't know. Judge Reinhold's weird because he's got a weird career. Fast Times at Ridgemont High came out. And if that's like now, like everybody from that movie is like set up to be like a sex symbol or like, ooh, teen throb, that kind of thing. But like, I never get that feel from Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold, he's the everyman. He's the every guy.
Yeah.
Then he blew up in the 80s and then he was hard to work with.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
Is that what it is?
He even admits it. He says it in interviews now.
What? Tell me, because I don't know.
So I guess when I was looking up his career, because I was like, what happened to him? He even says, he blew up in the 80s. And then he's like, I got a reputation for being hard to work with, and rightfully so. I started making demands on set. And
really?
Yeah. And just being an absolute like pain to work with. And it got around, and rightfully so. And so it took a while for me to get any kind of goodwill back and start working again.
Well, that's good that he admitted that he was a jerk off.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Was like his goodwill tour started when he did the Santa Claus?
It started in Ridgemont High and ended a couple years after this movie. It ended in like 89. That was his.
And he stopped working.
Blew up. After that, he stopped working because they were like, you know what? we're good.
But when did he do the Santa Claus?
That's afterward. That's when he kind of came.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, his comeback. Yeah. That was kind of his comeback. Yeah.
Okay.
And ever since then, he's been on TV shows and guest appearances. All in the 90s, he was nominated for his episode of Seinfeld as a close talker.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
with this ring, I could have got never mind.
he's done stuff, did stuff in between, but it was all smaller stuff like that.
Yeah, he's on TV now. Yeah.
Because he was hard to work with, and that was his reputation.
That's too bad. Interesting.
It's cool that but like you said, it's cool that he admits it and like he knows where he went wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
some actors just never get that way.
He does have a funny line in this movie. Like who? No, he does have a funny line in this movie when they're like trying to figure out, when he picks up the daddy long legs and he's like, let's be assholes and get rich. And he steps on him.
Yep.
He's not wrong. Assholes really do just get what they want because nobody really fights them.
I just love that scene where he's like saving the daddy long legs all delicate. Though.
Yeah.
He's ruthless. And then he reopens the door when he realizes what he did.
Did you like Bill Pullman in this movie? It's his first film.
I love Bill Pullman in this movie. I think he's great. He's so dumb. Again, this is like, that's another like Airplane-esque kind of character, but he's got some great lines. He's like his entire scene where he's watching the, what turns out to be the police chief having sex with the prostitute in the car. And he just thinks it's a murder. Oh God. Oh, he's getting off in it. I can't watch. And he just turns away.
Yeah.
And he just starts throwing up. Like, I think that's amazing.
The shot of him. So there's one shot when the car pulls up and he's getting ready to record, and it's Bill Pullman in his bleached hair, and he's in the bushes, and he's got his video camera, and he's got the backdrop of LA behind him.
Oh yeah.
If that's not a poster for 80s Hollywood, I don't know what is. Like that should be on a poster. It was like 1980s Hollywood.
I have that.
Come visit.
That's a great shot.
It is. Which
fits his character, because his character is also really like Miami Vice kind of steeped in
and
that.
Like everybody that's laughing at that, I bet you like 85% of the audience in Hollywood is like those people, like those people with the crappy camera in the bushes filming something, and like
popped collar on his blazer.
It's completely 1980s Hollywood.
I love that his bleached hair is kind of grown out, so he's got like that half inch of regular brown hair going on.
Yeah.
When his fish die and he's in his trailer. Oh, Crockett and Tubbs, no.
That's how he's dressed.
He's throwing him in the sink.
I like how the bedroom killer is supposed to be evil because his shirt's untucked. Like everybody else's shirt's
tucked in.
So I have a couple notes here about the inspiration for this film, which, I guess was refuted, but this movie shares similarities with O. Henry's short story, The Ransom of Red Chief, which is about two con men who kidnap a 10-year-old kid from a widowed businessman who refuses to pay the ransom because he's happy his son is unruly and he's happy to have him gone.
Right.
And then the con men return him. Now, the writer, Lawner, said that he's read O. Henry before and when he was younger, but he didn't specifically pull from it, but he might have subconsciously.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then this plot also is very similar to the British movie, an older film called Too Many Crooks. That it's the same kind of plot thing.
But he says it's based on a real life kid. He was inspired by a real life.
He was inspired by the Patty Hearst kidnapping, which everyone was inspired by the Patty Hearst kidnapping because it was such a big deal. But yeah, no. So it's probably a mix of everything.
Sure.
There's kind of the idea, like ideas float around. You catch them, you don't know where you get them, and then you write them down. You're just like, oh, that's like this. Oh,
everything's a conflation of a bunch of different stories put together.
Right. So
how you tell them.
Exactly. Also, Bette Midler and Danny DeVito didn't think this film was going to do well.
I saw that. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
They congratulated each other for a job well done and then called each other 20 minutes later or something.
They were crying and bemoaning over the phone how their career was over. Like the movie was terrible. They weren't going to ever work again. Well, they're actors. They're probably just self-conscious.
This is Bette Midler. She's like hot at this point, right? This is right when she does like the Wind Beneath My Wings stuff and all
Beaches.
That. Yeah, Beaches.
I don't know if this was
Danny DeVito's
Beaches. I think Beaches is 86.
Yeah.
So, but if
she doesn't have enough goodwill to survive this movie, even if it.
Yeah, but she's been doing. She already was nominated for 2 Oscars for the Boys and the Rose. I think the Rose was before this. Maybe been after.
Her career was gonna be fine.
Well, but you panic. You get worried. You know?
DeVito going from TV to movies. Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah. DeVito's had quite the career.
DeVito's awesome.
But yeah, no, I mean, his opening, Danny DeVito's opening, and I guess you can say it's a monologue because Carol really doesn't interrupt him too much. Sam's opening monologue, right?
Yeah.
He's just talking about how he can't stand his wife, how he married his wife because her father was rich and her father wouldn't die, and he was on his
she thought the doctor, the father was going to die.
Yeah, so he married her because he was on his deathbed, and it took 15 years, but he just screwed it and said, "I'm going to go make my own
His own money.
Which you
find out was actually him stealing Sandy's idea.
Which I didn't like that plot point in terms of, so Sandy designed the what is it called, the spandex miniskirt,
miniskirt, yep,
or the mini spandex, whatever it is. She designed it. They went into his office, and I guess then you never see this. This is what you get in dialogue, and then he stole it from him.
It was an old founder's handshake agreement.
Yeah, like if you listen to the founder episode, you know how they had a handshake agreement for 1% of the company, which was kind of bogus, I guess, was made up, they think, but like, you know, between Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers. So yeah, it's like that.
Yeah,
you know, they had a handshake agreement, and then he kind of like screwed them over and took their money and whatever. But that's that really that backstory really only serves the purpose of why they kidnapped her. It never really kind of goes into let's get your money back. I mean, they get it back at him,
right? But
it's really more making Sam broke or getting his money is really just Barbara's doing. She wants to cripple him in terms.
Oh yeah, they just want what they're owed. Sandy and Ken. And Then Barbara's like, take him for all his, castrate him. All her ideas.
Yeah. So it really just, you know, it only the idea that he stole their product was only to serve the purpose of why did they kidnap Barbara?
Oh yeah. Well, you need a reason.
No, I understand. It just didn't really play into anything else.
Right. Yeah.
Did you like, one of my notes is the 80s forensic of the Book of Tire Treads.
Oh, how lucky he is to flip to the just the right page.
Well, I mean, it's just, can you imagine, like back then you just, okay, we got tire treads. All right, let me check my big book of tire treads.
Got you a box of coffee and here's your job today.
Magnifying glass.
Oh my God.
I know.
But also like, I don't know, that's pretty circumstantial evidence when they go to Ken and go, you, sir, you have the exact same car. Is he the only one with that kind of car in all of Los Angeles?
Well, it's again, you can't hold a comedy or a dark comedy like this really to the fire like you would hold a drama.
Oh, exactly.
Thriller.
Yeah.
You can't really, you know, do that. Obviously, that's some stuff. All right. So what else? I guess, give me something else maybe that I'm missing or I didn't bring up or something.
Well, I just love the way that they introduce, like you brought up with Devito. Mm-hmm. I think they introduce characters in a way that I think is organic, that lets you know their character pretty much right away within a few lines of dialogue, that I think not just comedies, but almost every movie should do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they do a great job at within 30 seconds to a minute. You know what this character is. You know their motivation. You know why they're here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like, you're dealing with three sets of two characters. You're dealing with Sam Stone and Barbara Stone. You're dealing with Sandy and Ken, and you're dealing with Carol and Earl.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 6 characters. You need to really get to know them really quickly and get to know them well. And I think this movie does, you know, I just watched a movie that has too many characters and they don't do as good a job.
What's that called?
It's called something.
You can't say it.
It's the Eternals. It's the Eternals. You have too many. If you have a lot of characters and you have a small amount of time to introduce them, you know, it's not Game of Thrones. You don't have a full season to introduce 12 characters. This movie, I think, is a great example on how to write a character, like write in characters where you understand who they are, what their motivation and what their personality is within, you know, just a few lines of dialogue.
Oh yeah, I think we talk a lot about on the podcast about how it's you know, sometimes like a simple story. Like again, I'm gonna go back to the Founder. I think one of my quotes in the Founder episode was that it's a simple story, or maybe not the Founder. Oh, Ghost in the Darkness episode. That's right.
Yep.
I said it's a simple story, and that's not a knock. It's because you're just telling one story.
Yep.
You can have supporting stories and subplots, but they all need to factor into the one story. So when that's done correctly, it produces a strong movie. It produces a strong overall story. When you try to add major plots and try to hide them as subplots, the audience is smart enough to realize that something's not right. Something doesn't feel right.
Right.
Because we're all told, one of the great things about being a human being is that we all told stories. We all know how to tell a story. When you tell a joke, you're telling a story. So you know how a good story is told, and you know how a good story is not told. So, you know, it's, a not so good story is told. So you understand that. So it's inherent. So when you watch a movie, it's like, I don't know why it doesn't work. It's probably because it failed you story-wise. And to your point about Ruthless People, I agree with you. It does have a main theme, a main thread that you're following. And there's different things that are offshooting of it, but it all focuses on one thing.
And you know your characters right away. You know who they are. Like I might not remember their names because I'm terrible with names,
nice.
But I know each and every character and I know what they're like and I know how they would react to the situation. So you just experience the story after that.
Well, I
don't have to learn about like Danny DeVito's, like Sam Stone's backstory halfway through the movie. Like
You find that
I
out
know
right
right
away.
away, yeah.
You find out he's not a good person.
You know, Barbara Stone is really kind of miserable. You understand why Sam Stone's kind of like that 5 minutes into meeting her as well.
Well, I mean, I know I went through a list of like 9 or 10 characters, but there's really just 6 main characters. Still 6 characters, 2
Yeah.
main. But like, let me ask you this. Can you make a case, or I can make a case that none of the main 6 characters are good people?
Oh, wait, they're all ruthless people.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're
Just varying degrees. Like Ken and Sandy still kidnapped a woman.
yes,
And still
stole money.
Stole money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And they were let's be assholes and get rich, which they did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously, Carol and Earl were going to just let Barbara get murdered. And they didn't send the video to the cops which was clearly the wrong video, until after Carol thought she was
They
gonna
never
go.
had the video. Yeah.
Yeah, until Carol thought, oh, I'm going to get strangled next.
Do you think that plot device of no one ever watches the video, like they never watched the video, do you think that went on too long?
Maybe a little bit.
Right.
But I think it still worked because you get the great lines of dialogue between Carol and the police chief. Everybody does it. Listen, it's just a man. Men have urges. You're sick.
Well, when they show it they watch it in the video
So
store.
you
You
hear
hear
the
the
lady.
line, "That's my husband."
And then when Sam Stone's going to get all his money out of the bank for the box, you see the police chief's there getting his passport and
he's
everything,
getting
getting
out of
ready to
it.
leave.
Yeah.
Come on, lady. It's no big deal.
So for those people who are not familiar with, like, again, the Zucker brothers or Abrahams or even Pat Proft movies like Naked Gun and Airplane, you have to watch the credits because the credits are always bogus. There's real credits in there, but mixed within the credits
There's some
are fake credits, like Greens and Fairways. Like in this one, like Greens was Rufin and Dreda and Fairways was Rich Markey. Like they have best boy, best script, best pitcher, Dwight Gooden, for those who are New York Mets fans out there. Utility man, utility infielder, Felix Mantilla. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like you have to stay for the credits because the credits are always funny. And
They're probably the reason that IMDb has a crazy credits section.
I'm sure they probably forced them to do it because a lot of people do try to copy that.
Yeah.
But like it's always like a staple of those films when you're just sitting there making the credits. Hey, have some fun. So I guess we can say this. We might have said this before in terms of like an 80s staple or something that was always in the 80s, maybe bled into the 90s. I don't know how long it goes back or goes forward, but the title song is always a song that's with the title of the movie.
Yeah.
And did you know who sang it?
This was Mick Jagger, right?
Yeah. Written by Mick Jagger, Daryl Hall, and somebody else.
I wouldn't have figured it didn't really sound like Mick Jagger. It was just like the first thing on IMDb that shows it.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right.
But it's just like Ruthless People. I'm like, is this like The Secret of My Success had that too?
It's just so 80s.
Yeah.
It's probably around like 92, 93 is I think early 90s is when it kind of petered out. But
thankfully.
Yeah. Like I might not have liked it in the 80s, or we might be talking about like that as a trope that like we hate in like in the 2010s or 20s now.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, like it's so nostalgically awesome that I'm just like, oh yeah, so 80s.
Well, like I know that like the James Bond films do that, obviously, but that's more tradition. Like they announce who's going to sing it. They announce.
Oh, it's a big deal. Yeah,
it is a big deal. So I get that. So,
and also these are more like commercial, like glorified jingles. Some of these,
but like, hey, we're doing this with Ruthless People. Mick, can you think you can write something up? It's like how how uninspiring is that? Like, you know what I mean? How do you have to get yourself up for that?
He was paid by Disney. I'm sure he was. I'm sure he got himself up.
I'm
for
sure
that.
it was a nice fat paycheck. I get that. Money is what inspires him. Field, come on.
Let's see. What can I write for Ruthless People? Ruthless People.
But there's such prestige around the James Bond the Bond songs.
Not getting any
everybody
credit for Ruthless
wants
People,
them.
yeah.
Like, people want to do them. They petition to do them.
Yeah.
And then when they do bad ones, it's like, they don't want to hear that. But so do you think that this film, I'm not getting into why I think it's forgotten, but I'm curious, Dick, do you think this film maybe is one of those films that audiences now who maybe didn't grow up back then, younger audiences, could really kind of like this film? Do you think that this film has enough in it where it would attract somebody who's younger than us, obviously, would be interested in seeing it?
I think so, because they're all such terrible, terrible asshole people. I think it still works. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's steeped in the 80s, but like you said, in almost like a ridiculous kind of way that you could even see people doing now to kind of steep some stuff in the 80s. I mean, look at like Grand Theft Auto Vice City is so big because it's so 80s, and it's from people who never really experienced that time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that other than the fact that they use regular phones and payphones, and some people would be like, what the hell is that? I think it still works.
Yeah.
I think the story still works. The plot still works. There's nothing really
You know what's funny?
Not anachronistic, but something like timelessness.
There's not a lot of stuff in the movie too where we're like groaning, like we're like, oh, the 80s, like, you know, like with Secret of My Success, where he was like creeping on her a little bit.
Although Sandy has the most Sarah Connor hair I've ever seen.
Yeah, but that's not I'm saying groan inducing in terms of like a little bit inappropriate. But, you know,
you're
that
right.
kind of thing. It doesn't have that.
There's nothing like that in this. Yeah.
It's just, exactly. You know, because we were talking about like Secret of My Success, like
No
he
PC
creeps
kind of
on
stuff.
her. Like, yeah. But yeah, so that was one of the things I like. It was just like, so I'm wondering if that would help it translate better.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I don't know, because a lot of times with these older films, you know, we talk about them, but like when we were first starting the podcast, or when we were going to start the podcast, we would have conversations with people about,
have you seen this movie?
And they would be like, what's that? What's that? And like, you know, I know it's just, I don't know. I think this is one of the movies where I don't think people are going to go back and watch this. I don't even think people older than me would be like, oh man, Ruthless People's on the day. I love that movie. Like, no one's ever said that to me.
I used to watch this all the time.
I got you. I'm saying we're a little bit different.
That's how I watch. But
we're a little
I
different because you watch films. But,
yeah.
you know, I started watching the Otto Preminger movie Laura the other day. No one's gonna watch that. Like, I'm watching it. So, so yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, no one wants to go back to a movie.
Well, then I guess why don't you lead into what's up?
What's up? Go ahead.
I was saying, well, why don't you lead us into why maybe you think it's forgotten?
I think it's forgotten because it is an 80s film. It's so steeped in the 80s. Again, it's a touchstone movie as well, which I think for some reason the last few years just seem to be like we talk about it. Like, Disney doesn't care about them.
Well, that's the thing too.
Disney's like
every time when they bought Hulu, or whenever they bought the controlling stake in Hulu,
right,
it was talked about how Disney Plus was going to have their PG-13 content and lower, and all their other older adult stuff, maybe their harder PG-13 and rated R stuff, is going to go to Hulu. Right. Well, where is it? Because there's a ton of movies out there that we could be watching right now.
Ruthless People's on Showtime for some reason.
Yeah, because they sold it to Showtime
it's
for
like
the month.
thrown away. Yeah.
Like where is this content that we were promised? Because there's a lot of content that we're not getting.
I don't get it. It's like I think they like kind of hide their touchstone content.
God forbid. We're not stupid.
Yeah. So I think that's a big reason.
Yeah.
I think that Danny Devito is known now for playing, obviously.
Well, younger audiences know Devito from It's Always
Sunny. Yep.
Absolutely.
And
that's where they know him.
If they're a little bit older,
maybe
they
Matilda.
know him from Matilda or Batman Returns.
Yeah.
They know him as the Penguin.
I think he's had a long enough career where he's going to connect with all generations.
Oh, sure. For different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then like, this is like Taxi era Devito almost. This is like young Devito.
Yeah, agreed.
So I mean, most people even my age probably don't know of him in this zone.
Well, this is also Devito. I know you talked about how this is one of his movies, but he's also, I want to say he was in Romancing the Stone already.
Oh, I'm not saying this is his first movie, but I'm saying it's when we're talking about like getting like quote unquote, like not like canceled today, but canceled for doing a bad movie.
Oh, wow.
He's still like a TV star who transitioned to movie. Bette Midler has like.
Well, Bette Midler has a huge Broadway career.
She can bomb a couple.
She can do whatever she wants. Yeah, absolutely. But deservedly so, because she's really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I also think Bette Midler's star has faded in terms of anybody my age, so mid 30s to younger.
I don't think faded.
They're not looking for Bette Midler content.
Well, I don't think
except for maybe Hocus Pocus too.
I don't think it's a negative connotation that she's faded. She's gotten older.
She's gotten older and she's done less stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That just happens to everybody.
Well, you're going to watch Hocus Pocus too. Who are you kidding?
I'm going to be forced to. I actually don't like Hocus Pocus.
What?
I love Bette Midler, but I don't like Hocus Pocus.
It's okay.
I'm very mad about it.
I really like when Sarah Jessica Parker does a muck a lot of times. That's about it. Come on. That's about the gist of it.
That's about it.
Yeah. Needless to say, it's a kids movie, and they're killing a kid. They're trying to kill a kid because he's a virgin. So let's just put that out there. All you kids. I'm just saying.
But yeah, I think your two big leads are kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
Who's watching Helen Slater stuff right now?
I got to get back and get into my Judge Reinhold phase.
Exactly, Judge Reinhold. It's like they're gonna go like, oh, I think he looks familiar, and they're gonna remember. They're gonna know he's from something, but not realize he's from the Santa Claus, and then that's all they're gonna remember.
He got the kazoo from this. Is it the kazoo that he gets?
It's the kazoo, yeah. Barely goes. But
you're right. It doesn't have a lot of people that are big times. Maybe their star is not as big now as it was back then.
Except for maybe DeVito. But again, they want Frank Reynolds, DeVito. And you're not going to get that. I mean, this guy is disgusting, but in a completely different kind of way.
Yeah.
But he's got some great lines. I mean, I love when he's on the phone or he's trying to talk to the cop about how to be a good businessman, and never settle for less. As soon as you settle for less, you disgust me. It's disgusting. We'll go to $50,000. Oh, I hate you. You're disgusting.
Well, I like it when he's telling the story at the beginning and he's just like, I hate her. I hate the way she licks stamps. Like she just like that's what he picks. She snores. That's what he picks. So yeah, I mean, I can agree with what you're saying in terms of like why it doesn't really translate or connect. But I still think it would translate
and connect. Absolutely. I think it deserves to as well.
I mean, more organically, and rather than you saying, hey, you like comedies, watch Ruthless People.
Well, I think, again, we talk about the end cap in video stores.
Right.
The recommendation kind of thing.
Oh, this is an employee recommendation.
This is absolutely like an employee recommendation kind of a thing. This deserves to be like on, the wheel where you go top comedies or like Netflix has, you scroll down and they have the really weird genres.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't this on their 80s comedy kind of thing? I mean,
because the Netflix algorithm is, first of all, the algorithm is ridiculous for any of them. Cause I want to watch something and I can't even get to it. So
I understand that, but like this deserves to be one of those, like obviously Fast Times at Ridgemont High and stuff are well-known comedy, but this is also a well-known comedy movie that did a ton of business. So
I know nobody who is any kind of importance in meta or metaverse or is not going to hear this, but I'm going to say this right now. So when we all do go virtual, which I was having a conversation with my teenage daughter going, this is where we're headed. Like 46-year-old me is telling my 15-year-old daughter, this is where we're going. And she's like, I go, we're going, this is what's happening. So when we do go virtual and we have to slap on our glasses like we're in Ready Player One to attend school,
I'm ready for it.
That's fine. What I want is Netflix or somebody to become an online video store. I want it to be I'm walking through the doors of an old Blockbuster and I'm checking and I'm walking the aisles looking at the end caps and employee things. That's what I want.
You know what I'm picturing now? A forgotten cinema commercial. We're in a white room and we're wearing black trench coats and sunglasses. And
that's what I want
together.
too.
We go, what do we need? Movies. Lots of movies. Just aisles of movies.
If you don't think I want to jack into the Matrix, you got nothing coming. Absolutely.
Movies.
But that's what I want. I don't want what I have to do and be sucker to the algorithm, whatever they show me. I want to be able to walk in and walk around virtually and pick the movies that I want. You do that and you will definitely get all the people like me and all the people that are older and a little that remember the time of analog. We will absolutely jump into that because that would
get
be
my
better.
Virtual VHS.
Dude, we would be able to walk in together, connected, pick a movie, and then we'd all sit down on our own couches and just watch it through our goggles. That's what would happen, Butler.
Walk into my own virtual giant movie theater.
Yes.
Look up at a screen bigger than the IMAX.
There you go. I think we've discussed this is what's going to happen. So that's what should happen. That's what I want. I know we're never going to go back to video stores, but like, can we do it virtually at least so that I can pick what I want?
This episode has gone off.
Where can they find us?
You can find us at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com or ForgottenEntertainment.com, as we are part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. While you're there, check out all the other great shows from Forgotten Entertainment. You can also find us on Amazon, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, maybe one day the Metaverse, and give us a rating, a review, subscribe while you're there. That'd be awesome. Join us in the lobby on Forgotten Cinemas page on Facebook. Let us know if you've seen Ruthless People, what you think about it. I'm interested to see how many of our like kind of more hardcore like film fans that usually talk to us like this movie.
Usually talk to Jen. A lot of people like to talk to us.
Yeah. I think we'll get some response from doing Ruthless People. We have, even for like hardcore film guys, they might be like, "This isn't Forgotten."
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how many of those people like try to come out of the woodwork for this.
I always love when people come at us with what's forgotten. That's great. I'm glad you're listening, but you don't need to be so aggressive.
I will say, I didn't know you had never seen this movie all the way through, and I'm glad you seem to enjoy it.
Yeah,
for one of my choices.
Oh, stop! You really like it.
I get like one a season where it's like I pick something.
Do you have like a chalkboard at your house where you just notch Field liked it?
I don't have enough of those films to notch a bunch of notches.
You have some self-esteem issues you need to work on.
Oh, yeah.
Join us next week as we're actually going to see what I called one time the poor man's Ocean's 11, but it's good, is Logan Lucky from 2017. There's not enough. What's funny about this is I've told people to see Logan. I never caught that. It's like, it's really good. And
I like Logan Lucky a lot.
I don't know why you haven't seen it.
I'm gonna try to get Elise to watch this one.
It's good. It's got Adam Driver, Channing Tatum. Who else am I forgetting?
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. That's right, Daniel Craig. So there you go. We're watching James Bond's Logan Lucky. That's next week on the show. Until then, have a good week. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema. Ruthless people. Do. I don't know the rest.
Do I look stupid to you? Yes, you do.